Howdy gamers, Zephyr here, and welcome back to another ProGuides Apex Legends video. Apex Predators are at the top level of competition in Apex Legends, but what sets their gameplay apart from the average player? Let's find out. But first, our question of the day. What rank are you hoping to achieve next season? Let us know in the comments below. Number 1. Understand the game as much as possible. It goes without saying that one of the best ways to think and win like a pro is to gain as much in-game experience as possible. The vast majority of Apex Predator and professional players have thousands and thousands of hours in the game. For a lot of these players, Apex is their full-time or part-time job, and this means that they have a lot of time to spend playing the game. At the professional level, in tournaments such as ALGS, pro players will also watch back their own gameplay and review their decisions and rotations. This has several benefits. One of the most important skills in any FPS game, not just Apex, is your raw mechanical ability. How good is your aim? How good is your movement? When should you use certain abilities? Naturally, these abilities improve over time. The best way to increase your aim, besides using an aim trainer such as AimLads, is to play the game. Practicing movement techniques only makes you better at them. Consider Apex like a traditional sport. How did Ronaldo or Messi get so good at football? Practicing and playing for hours and hours. They also develop an understanding of certain quirks in the game. It could be which specific building is best to hold in a certain zone, or perhaps a particular rock you can sit on top of. These things are all individually small, but they add up to make a very intelligent player. Another huge advantage these players have from practice is zone knowledge. Pro and Predator Apex players understand how zones in Apex tend to pull, and they can rotate fast and take spots that they know work well. But for most of us, playing ranked for 10 hours a day isn't really feasible outside of the odd occasion. Frankly, it's not healthy. Obviously, playing the game more will help you improve and develop that understanding that an Apex Predator would have. Although, you can take advantage of their knowledge. Watching pro gameplay and Apex Predator gameplay can help you develop that understanding. How do they rotate? Which spots do they hold in certain areas of the map? How do they approach fights and position themselves? Head over to YouTube or Twitch and you can easily find plenty of talented players to take tips from. You can also really advance your knowledge by getting coached by a top-level player. They can help spot flaws, give you detailed knowledge, and direct you onto how best spend your time to advance your gameplay. Luckily, ProGuides has everything you need to supercharge your gameplay to the next level. From detailed in-game knowledge and guides to specialist coaches, whatever you need, we've got you covered. Why not sit down with an Apex Predator and get direct feedback on your gameplay, and find out what they think you could do differently to think like an Apex Predator yourself? Check out the link in the description, and let's go! Number 2. Think 2 steps ahead. One of the biggest differences between a gold, plat, or diamond player is how far ahead they plan their game and the information they consider. Some of this comes from time spent in-game. As we've already said, Predator players tend to have a lot of Apex experience. This means that they naturally calculate ahead and consider much more information. One of the best examples is being contested at the very start of the game. You're flying into a POI and you're being held by one team. You'd think that this makes it safe to fight, a straight 3v3. However, what an Apex Predator would consider is the neighboring POIs. For example, think of Fragment in World's Edge. You're landing frag west with another team. If there's another squad landing Fragment east, they'll be looting fast and coming to third party your fight if they're smart. But if there are 2 teams that are also at Fragment east, you could potentially take the fight without any risk of being thirded. This goes for later in the game too. Apex Predators are always looking at where their opponents are. Could there be a team behind us? Where could people push us from? Thinking ahead and game planning what to do if something happens so they're prepared, not reacting and being caught off guard. In a tight endgame scenario, if we fight a team, how easily can we be thirded? Are 2 teams likely to fight? Could we third party them? They also think about the zone. What sort of zone is it? What type of game are we likely to have? If they're already in a good spot for where they think the final few zones are going to be, they might take a longer range weapon like a charge rifle, triple take, or longbow. If they know they have a very difficult rotate that will require or potentially require lots of fighting in close quarters, those longer range weapons will be much less useful than an R301, a car, SMG, or a flatline. Finally, they also anticipate what other teams will have to do. For example, there could be a team that can't rotate towards zone any other way than through you. This means an Apex Predator or pro player would be preparing to fight that team. or especially at the ALGS level where gameplay is a lot more passive. They might be trying to force a team who has a couple of paths into a certain spot to go away from them, putting pressure on to force or encourage a team to take a decision that's better for the endgame. Number 3. Play the legends. Top level Apex players will also really consider what legend they play and the best strategies for using them. They won't just specialize on a specific legend. While you might play Apex the same way no matter if you're on Wattson, Seer, Valkyrie, or Wraith, pro players adapt their game style to the legend they're using. For example, if you play Wraith in Gibraltar, you have to think about their skill sets and abilities. Wraith is very good in leading the push and generating angles. She has her phase ability to escape a sketchy situation, and she can portal up towards a location so her teammates can follow. Contrast that with Gibraltar, who's a very fat legend and easily beamed. He needs to be with his team so he can bubble, and he's not suited to moving to get angles or making crazy solo plays. He has his bubble to protect himself, but that is only limited in safety. An Apex Pro will take advantage of the abilities each legend brings. You could watch the same pro player play Apex on 2 contrasting legends, and they will play very different game styles. They won't be running off and making risky solo plays with Caustic or Wattson, but equally they won't be holding back on Horizon or Octane. Really thinking about the kit that your legend has and how to play a style that reflects that will take your gameplay to another level. Number 4. Grenades. Something that a lot of players don't utilize and think about as using as much as a pro player is grenades. They can really change a fight. Make sure that you're carrying grenades as much as possible. In the recent ALGS, teams are running Loba and using her ultimate to grab as many grenades as possible because they can be that good. Of course, they deal big damage, and arc stars can also stun your opponent, but they can be used for so much more. You could grenade a doorway that a player is peeking to run past them. The grenade will stop them from being able to shoot you. Or you could throw a grenade behind a player so they can't run back and are forced to fight you. Something else that pro players use grenades a lot for is to force people to leave a position. It could be that a player is hidden neatly behind a supply bin and you can't get them. But you don't want to leave your own position just to chase one kill. A well-placed grenade will either potentially kill them or force them to suddenly bolt from their position. If you have your whole squad lined up ready to focus fire on them when they do so, that's an easy kill, all thanks to one ordnance. There are also other little tips that get forgotten, such as that your teammate don't take damage towards your own grenades. So feel free to lob a bunch of grenades into a room and let your teammates charge in. That'll create a big damage potential, and you can waltz in and clean up any survivors afterwards. While none of the tips mentioned might seem that life-changing in isolation, remember that Apex Predators take all of these things into account at all times. By adapting all of these tips and practicing in-game as much as your work, school, or other commitments allow, you can develop your game and really think and win like an Apex Predator. I've been Zephyr, and I'll see you next time for more Apex Legends Pro Guides YouTube content.